Thank you very much for staying here. Now, more than 20,000 birds have been destroyed in fresh bird flu cases at 2 locations in the Volta region. The culling was conducted by the Veterinary Services Department at Pejikopa in the Keta municipality and Kwogedi in the Kitche South municipality. It comes after test results of samples of avian flu taken to a lab in Italy came out positive last week. Veterinary officers in the Volta region confirmed the outbreak to Joy News.
About 2 weeks ago, the farmer noticed that there's a drop in the production of the eggs from his farm. So he decided to give them a booster. And fortunately for him, they all responded. Last week, Wednesday, in the morning, he lost about 45 birds. The next day, 185. It's continuing like that. So he was alarmed and he called us. So we took the sample to Accra.
When did you collect the sample from there to Accra?
The sample was sent about 3 days ago. From our side, was positive.
That is the result from Accra?
Yes, positive.
Are you destroying the birds in that particular farm?
We have all the birds in that particular farm.
So what are you doing about other places that we may see?
Yes, we have to map up a radius for the local birds in that area, which we will start the destruction to very soon. If you have not reported, we can't slaughter, we can't destroy it. But those houses surrounding the focal point, that's the farm, those local birds around that area will be destroyed.
When you identify an area that there's infection and there are other poultry farms in the vicinity, what steps do you take?
We normally give 8 kilometers radius from the center of the outbreak point. So we have to destroy all birds around 8 kilometer vicinity. Then after destroying, then we destroy the feed, the eggs, anything that is found within the farm land. After destroying, we disinfect it. Then we invite our medical doctors to come and take blood samples from the people in the house. This is the house. The farm is close to the house, so they will take their blood sample and then screen it. We check whether they are infected.
Following the outbreak in the Volta region, locals there tell our correspondent they fear contracting the bird flu and hence are shunning the consumption of poultry products. Ivy Setoje is our correspondent there and she tells us more.
Well, actually, most people in the region, especially in the area, when they realized that this was what was happening, they got scared. They are now worried because they feel, okay, so that means they are not safe in the Keta and the Keta municipality because of all this. And so right now they said they don't know what to do. And so what they are doing now is they don't want to touch anything, chicken, anything bad. What they are doing now is to be very, very careful about what they eat, especially in regards to meat in that area. And so they are really pleading with government to do something about it urgently before anything happens, because they consider those areas, especially Keta municipality, as one of the neatest places in the region. And so this thing happening now is a surprise to most of the residents in the area.
Vera, let's talk about the farms on which these birds were slaughtered. Well, now we can speak to an owner of a poultry farm that was also affected by the outbreak. Agbenyefia Atipo is owner of Berutha Poultry. He's joined me over the telephone lines now. Hello, Mr. Atipo.
Hello.
Well, you have some concerns regarding the culling of the birds and compensation. Share this concern with us.
Pardon me, I can hear you well.
Well, we understand that you have some concerns with the modalities involved in the culling of birds since the outbreak.
Yes.
Right. No, so share those concerns with us. Tell us about your concerns.
Okay. Well, now that the government has taken charge or sent people to destroy the birds, I feel if they could be of assistance by way of replenishing the lost stock, I'll be very grateful. Because as I speak now, I don't have a single fowl on the farm.
So how many of your own birds were destroyed?
I have 1,800 birds. And they started dying 4 days earlier before I reported the case. And as of yesterday, when they came to my house, they destroyed about 500 birds. That is, earlier to that, I have buried about 1,200 plus before they came.
What was it that, what did they tell you before the culling was done? Was there any conversation around compensations?
No, there wasn't any talk on compensation.
So why would you want compensation now?
Why would I want compensation?
Yes.
Oh, because as things stand now, to be able to come back and start rearing another stock would not be an easy task. Poultry is a capital-intensive industry. And if the government doesn't come in, I'm afraid I will not be able to stand on my feet again.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Atipo. Mr. Agbenyefia Atipo is owner of Berusa Poultry in the Volta region, and all of the birds on his farms were destroyed following an outbreak of avian flu in the area. But we'll try and get an update on this situation in subsequent broadcasts. However, Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Hannah Bissell, has been sharing measures government is putting in place to deal with the situation.
It's a biosecurity system that you can't break the chain. You cannot get her because you're a vet. We don't have enough vets, so you go to this farm. Already our biosecurity systems are not in place on our farms. You move from this farm, you go to that farm. You move from this farm, you go to that farm. So I'm explaining to you the protocols. And those protocols cannot be changed by you, nor by me. They are laid down protocols. There was an outbreak in the Netherlands, and the vets were not roaming from one farm to the other.
But it's essentially, you agree with me that the conditions in the Netherlands are not the same in Ghana.
No, so what are you saying that our farmers are?
I am not saying, I'm only asking that.
I'm asking you, I'm telling you that we put the announcement out there. Our farmers, if they have the problem, they'll call us. Conditions and people's character, they are different. And so if you are saying that the conditions are not the same, it's not the condition.
No, but I'm only concerned about even how this communication has gone on well. So let's say someone, Fuman, in the Brangahafo region, a poultry farmer, there notices something. Is this person aware of the number to call?
Please, what I'm saying now is this. We have veterinary doctors at the regions. We have technical people at the districts. And as we have the disease, there's a chain of command that have been sent out. And so these people they've sent these things to the various areas. And they have their local numbers that they call.
Well, an accident on the N1 highway has left one person dead and another critically injured. Eyewitness accounts suggest a tipper truck loaded with chippings headed for La Paz veered off its lane and knocked down 2 pedestrians, killing one instantly.
I'm Nana Kwame.
And you said you were here when it all happened. Tell us exactly what happened.
Okay, we are here this morning and the traffic was working and the green is on, so the cars are going. And the policeman is trying to stop them and then make way for the other side to come. So he stopped them, and the other car behind the tipper truck, it is behind a tractor car. So he tried to swerve the 207. The tipper truck is trying to swerve the 207, and then he crashed 2 people here and then killed them.
So you are blaming the police for this?
I will not say I'm not blaming the police, but I think Half of the fault are from the police.
Half of the fault. Okay. Now you say you blame the police. Why do you say so?
Oh, because it's a police fault.
Why? Why do you say?
Because when traffic lights show green, that means go. Yeah. So you can't stop. The drivers you should stop. No, you can't. So it's a police fault. Yeah, it's police fault.
Thank you. ASP Abdullahi Emmanuel in charge of the Odoko Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service also spoke to us.
What I gathered is that the truck behind me was coming from Malam Interchange towards Nyamiche direction. And on reaching here, I'm told the traffic light was red. There was a vehicle ahead of him, which have stopped. And then I think maybe he had problem with his braking system. So he veered off the road, and then he knocked down two pedestrians who were standing on the pavement. And then I'm told one of them who was injured was rushed to the hospital by a good Samaritan. But I came and met the body, and I've taken the body to the morgue.
So one of them you say is dead?
One of them is dead. I can confirm that. I took the body. A woman. She will be about in her early 40s.
What is the status of the driver himself?
The driver immediately was taken to the police station. The driver is also in our custody.
His condition, I mean?
No, the driver was not injured. Nothing happened to the driver.
The General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party says the 4% hike in petroleum price announced on Tuesday is a symptom of government incompetence. Mr. Kwabena Japan spoke to Joy News yesterday after a news conference by the party.
Well, I think this is only a symptom of a deeper malaise. I mean, the government's incompetent handling of Ghana's economy, because the key parameter which they cannot control and they have been unable to control is our currency, its relations to the dollar, and it's been dropping significantly. So at the end of the day, if you are going to deregulate, it means that at every turn that the cedi loses value to the dollar, then you have to, the export price has to be adjusted accordingly. That's what they are facing. So rather than talk about just the symptom, I think we should talk about the economic mismanagement that has happened over the last 7 years under this NDC administration. Well, we have done it before. The way forward is to pursue economic management that will ensure that there's relative stability of your currency. Any country that has a currency that is swelling out of control, that's serious. And that is the most important thing. Because everybody knows that the international price has been hovering around $50, $60 for the last several months. And whilst during the NPP time it went as high as $140. And it's just because they've mismanaged the economy, and that has weakened our cedi. A cedi that they inherited, which was almost 1-to-1, is now 1-to-4. That is the devastating effect of economic incompetence, and that's what we should talk about. It's not just about the fuel thing, it's about the general mismanagement of the country's economy, which has impacted negatively on all facets of our economic life.
Well, this is where we are now. What should government do? Should government halt the process?
What government should do is to run the economy well. First and foremost, they have to rein in spending, control how the corruption that is happening in many places, and that has had a negative impact on our economy. Even the business confidence. Everybody says about that. The fact that in the 7 years, Ghana's sovereign rating has been downgraded several times. It's a mark of a lack of confidence in the management of the economy by this NDC administration.
The New Patriotic Party is asking members who are aggrieved following the weekend's parliamentary primaries to use the appropriate structures to seek redress or risk losing their membership. A number of candidates who lost at the primaries have vowed to run as independent candidates in 2016 with implications for the party's chances at the polls. Speaking at a news conference, the party's General Secretary Kwabena Japan says such persons will automatically forfeit the association with the NPP. Kwachi Fred Nyama has more.
Last Saturday, the New Patriotic Party held parliamentary primaries in 245 constituencies around the country. The successful outcome of these well-organized elections have once again demonstrated our faith and commitment towards the deepening of our democracy. The generally peaceful nature of the polls was a manifestation of the determination and preparedness of the MPP to prosecute an effective and efficient campaign that would ensure that our presidential candidate and party emerge victorious in next year's presidential and parliamentary elections. We are grateful to the rank and file of the party, especially the delegates who conducted themselves in a spirit of brotherliness. We want also to take this opportunity to thank the Electoral Commission for the collaborative effort in organizing the primaries. The same goes to the Ghana Police Service for their quick response to duty. In due course, our party will officially acknowledge them in writing. We also congratulate the winners of the contest and urge them to extend a hand to everybody and close ranks for our party. To those who were unsuccessful, we thank them very much for the role they played and urge them to still dedicate themselves as true patrons of our party to work together with our chosen parliamentary candidates to achieve our main goal of Victory 2016. In fact, those with genuine grievances should present their cases to the party secretariat for redress, and they should desist from engaging in recrimination, counter-accusations, especially in the media. It is noteworthy to acknowledge that 21 women emerged victorious, whilst unfortunately we lost 6 female incumbents in the process. So in fact, affirmative action has worked. It's encouraged a lot more women to file in the process, and it is evidenced by the amount of victors we have seen on Saturday. We are also happy to report that a significant amount of winners of the contest were below the ages of 35, which goes to affirm that the party MPP remains an attractive destination for the youth of our country. And that bodes well for the future, both of our political tradition and the country as a whole. Today, we have formally received the actual results as declared by the Electoral Commission in the various constituencies, except in 2 constituencies, namely Sunyani East and Gumua East, where the results were very, very close and are subject to challenges. We want to conclude by appealing to all members of our party, especially our foot soldiers, polling station executives, constituency executives, to rally around the chosen candidates, work together in genuine show of unity, and be guided by the principle of service, sacrifice, and selflessness that has become the very foundation of our political tradition.
There's heavy security presence at the Sunyani Polytechnic after 10 students were arrested in a riot on that campus. The students destroyed school properties and vandalized police vehicles in registering their displeasure and the manner in which the Student Representative Council President was using their funds. And we spoke earlier with the PRO for the Regional Police Command, ASP Christopher Terrier.
The current situation in Brong-Ahafo Polytechnic is very calm. The rector of the Polytechnic met with the regional police commander yesterday, and things were sorted out. So the 19 students who have been arrested have been released to the rector to be taken back to school to enable them go about their book. So the situation here is that they've been released on bail and to be reporting periodically.
How often are they to report to the police station?
Yeah, they've been handed over to the rector, and the position is that they should be reporting based on the conduct that they will show up in the school. But I believe that it should be 2 days in a week.
2 days in a week. Now, we also understand that these students were also made to sign a bond of good behavior.
Yes, before they met, the rector and the regional police commander met, they were advised, and based on that, they were released to the rector.
So, indeed, they have signed that?
Since they will be reporting, they were told to be of good behavior, but they didn't sign any book that indicate that they've been cautioned or anything otherwise.
Very well.
The documents are all lying down in preparation for court if they still misconduct themselves.
I see. Now, we understand that there's heavy security presence on the campus. Why has that become necessary?
Yeah, it was, but since the area has become very calm and the atmosphere looks so good for study to go on, we haven't shown any kind of security appearance there. But we are monitoring the situation. Intelligence has been set out there, and we are monitoring the situation.
So police are still on the campus?
No, no police is on the campus.
The Transport Minister, Jifar Tivo, has hinted plans are far advanced to regain the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration Category 1 status for Ghana. According to her, the ministry has concluded an audit and revision of the civil aviation law, which is critical in the attainment of the status.
Was awarded FAA Category 1 status in 1996 and lost it in 2004 due to Ghana Civil Aviation Authority's inability to ensure adequate oversight responsibility of a Ghana-registered aircraft, Ghana Airways. Since then, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has been taking all necessary steps to meet all international safety and security requirements to enable her regain the FAA Category 1 status, which will enable air carriers from Ghana continue to service in the United States.
We started the process, our civil aviation laws, and we have finished the revision, and we're currently at Parliament for the passing of the law. So it will not be too long when we would have completed that process.
The U.S. Secretary of Transport, Anthony Fox, also added that Ghana will be awarded a category after meeting international safety and security requirements.
The Minister and I had some very good conversation about this, and we continue to look forward to working with Ghana to get there as quickly as possible. In the U.S., this process is a fact-based, safety-based process. It is not a political process. It is an objective process that involves measuring certain capabilities. But I have a lot of confidence that as we continue working together, we'll get there.
You're watching Joy News today. There's more to come. Don't go away. Now, government says processes for migrating from analog to digital television platform officially begins today. The International Telecommunications Union set today, June 17, as a deadline for all member countries to complete the procedure. But speaking at a news conference today, Deputy Communications Minister Tusapon says the first phase will be complete by October 2015. Michael Ikwachi Afreniamais at this press briefing has joined me on the line with more detail. Hello, Afra.
Yes, Kamini, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Essentially, what does this mean?
Well, what this means, and let me give a brief background of all this. Over the past few months, government has been engaged in the process of looking for, the appropriate company to undertake this project. Of course, there was this court issue when the Chinese firm, that's Star Communications Limited, sued the government in court for abrogating a contract that has been signed. Of course, the concern of government at that particular time was about the capacity of this Chinese firm to undertake the project. But so that delayed the process a bit. And as you mentioned earlier, the International Telecommunications Union said today, June 17, as the deadline for all member countries to have migrated onto that platform. But a lot of factors, mainly including the court process, the court case and all that, delayed the process here in Ghana in terms of migrating onto the digital platform. The Deputy Communications Minister says that government has notified the ITU. But what this means is that, of course, migrating onto the platform will delay a bit. That's the digital platform will delay a bit. But government has divided all this into three phases. So for those in the Greater Accra region and the Ashanti region, they should expect to be migrated onto this platform, as you mentioned earlier as well, by October this year. And what this means is that by 1st November 2015, you should receive this transmission. And it covers the Volta region, the Upper East, and the Upper West. And indeed, of course, the Northern region is covered here as well. And that will be completed by December 2015. And the final phase will cover the Brong-Ahafo region, the Western region, and the Eastern region, which will be completed by March 2015. But of course, the analog platform will continue to be in place, and that's what we are, most of us are on now, and that will run alongside the digital platform, which will, the Deputy Communication Minister says will be still be in place until such a time that there is enough penetration in the system, most people can receive the signals and all that, and as well as such a time when there is enough education. But as you mentioned earlier as well, this very critical deadline, that is the June 17th deadline, falls today, and Ghana is one of the countries that failed to meet it. The minister has been talking extensively about what they are doing to ensure that, or what they have done indeed to ensure that Ghana does not breach any aspect of that particular agreement that they signed with the ITU. He says they've been engaged in discussions with officials there, making them understand the challenges that Ghana has faced over the period. But it's interesting to note that a local company by name KNet Limited has wanted to undertake this project. Over the past few months, about 15 companies submitted their bids to expressing interest to move ahead with this process, but the local company has been selected. And one very controversial that came up when the Chinese company was given the right to go ahead with the process was about their capacity to undertake the project. The Deputy Communications Minister, Sosapon, says that this Ghanaian company, KNet Limited, once again has the capacity to be undertaking projects of this nature in the past. So there's no cause for worry at all. So indeed, in conclusion, by March 2016, the expectation is that every part of this country will be covered in terms of the migration from the analog to...
Now, did the minister also talk about what form the migration will take, in that if I have a television set and I live in the Greater Accra region, by October 2015, what am I supposed to expect? My TV goes off?
Your TV will not go off. What will happen is that, and that's a very crucial point he made, that the country is not switching all of a sudden from the analog to the digital just because the processes have been completed. It will be, that will be done at such a time that the ministry feels and thinks and knows really that enough education has gone in, people understand this, and as I mentioned earlier, there is enough penetration there. There's a clear indication of the fact that everyone across the country is receiving this signal.
Well, Kwacha, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Kwacha Frenyama has been giving us details of a news conference by the Communications Ministry on the digital migration, which deadline falls today. And by the way, Ghana has missed. The recent flood and fire disaster in Accra is taking a psychological toll on some of the victims, with counsellors saying a significant number of them have become suicidal. Hannah Dame has been to one of the counseling centers set up by the Multimedia Group Limited with support from donors, and reports victims are finding it difficult to readjust to normal life.
Everyone can witness the twin disaster that we experienced on June 3 in the country and still survive. One of them, Patience Balabi, who we are going to have some conversation with. Welcome, Patience.
After
close of work, the downpour forced me to seek shelter at the Gold Filling Station. I then decided after a while to throw caution to the wind and find my way home through the unabating rain. Upon arrival, I discovered the rooms of my neighbors were filled with water. The rainwater suddenly forced its way into my room. I tried to salvage some properties, but could not. I want to relocate as early as possible. The incident has caused a rise in my blood pressure, and I will be grateful for any help to my unfortunate situation.
So after her session, I find out from her if her fears have subsided.
I felt as if I was no longer part of the human race, but after coming here, I feel a bit relieved.
For Councillor Asafo, speaking to the over 60 victims he has attended to since the disaster, shows more help is needed.
Now, a lot of people have become hypervigilant. They're afraid even when they hear loud screams or even the horns of cars. Even the police sirens make them afraid. And when they see it's about to rain, it's even worse. Okay, so what we are doing basically is to let them know that all these symptoms are normal, and they are likely to become residual in a couple of weeks. However, there is a tendency for some of these conditions to go beyond the normal. So those people, we always give a referral form to say after some time, if you still experience this, please call the number on it, and then we'll direct you to a hospital, and then we can treat you well.
These counselors and psychologists who are here are indeed God sent. They are doing their bits, and they'll wrap up at the end of this week. Hannah Odame for Joy News.
Imagine being pregnant and getting into labor the moment disaster strikes. That was a traumatic experience of Mavis Obenewa, who found herself in labor at a time when the two disasters were happening on June 3. As water gushed into her room, she had no choice but to take refuge on a chair meant for the naming ceremony of her unborn child. And guess what? She gave birth to twins after enduring the trauma of the twin disasters. Derek Ekosam paid her a visit at her Kwame Nkrumah Circle residence, the epicenter of the disaster, and has the rest of the story.
The nation was hit with its worst disaster. Flood and fire took away a lot of lives. But as the water entered into people's homes, especially residents of Kwame Nkrumah Circle, one lady went into labor. She had already done a scan and she was told that she would give birth to twins. And so the experience made her go into labor at once. But she was able to contain her pains and give birth a week after that. We are here at her house. We want to talk to her to find out what exactly was she thinking of and how was the experience like. So let's get in and talk to her. Where were you when the whole thing started?
I was here. And when the flood started, I was here with my sister, my elder sister, and my elder brother. Later on, we all sit on our chair there, and we saw that the flood is coming. So it came on speed. All of a sudden, we saw that there is so many flood coming. So my mother came early with one girl sitting here, and she came and read things here.
And so when did you finally get into labor?
When the flag decided to go away.
Have they been named already?
No.
So what name are you considering?
I don't have money, so if the government will help me to get something to do something and get everything, I bought everything, but the flag took everything away. And my husband thinks too, the flag was taken by the things. So we don't have anything. These things are people who give it to us.
There was an explosion not too far away from your house. Were you thinking that it would cross over to your house?
Yeah, because I think that when the flag started on 11 something, so we are praying that if we go to 12 to 1, maybe he can take us. So all my life was like dependent by God. That's it.
Did you say a special prayer?
Yeah, we prayed.
What was the prayer you said?
We have been going to a certain prayer called Abram, so we are believed by Oja.
Members of the Ghana Institution of Engineers are urging government to immediately implement recommendations they made over the years to ensure the proper planning of Accra. According to them, designs of drains and a flood plan for Accra, among others, have largely been ignored. They say until the plans are implemented, Accra will continue to be ravaged by floods. Executive Secretary of the Institute, George Sandos, spoke to Joy News after touring the areas worst affected.
Behind me is the terrible aftermath of the flood and fire disaster that rocked this part of the nation's capital on June 3. According to the Ghana Institution of Engineers, a lot has to be done if we have to avoid some of these needless deaths and destructions. They say that big problems such as this need bold decisions. And to tell us more is the Executive Secretary, George Isando. Welcome to Joy News.
Thank you. All that we are asking for is that the citizenry, one, the government, two, and the professional bodies, technically, to do certain things. And we think that once these things are done, by way of getting to the implementation of the solutions or the issues that are known already, we can deal with this one.
So you have had the solutions a long time, and they have not been implemented.
Yes, I would say yes.
So what is the setback? Is it lack of political will or funding?
We identified 3 groups of people that must do certain things to make sure that the implementation of these solutions are done, such as the design of drainage, construction of drainage, and even the whole plan, a flood plan for Accra.
So you have seen the horrible and terrifying scenes. What could have been different?
What could have been different is if we had applied ourselves, all of us applied ourselves to the issues that we knew of and to the solutions that we knew of and implemented them.
The depreciation of the cedi continues to, the cedi continues to depreciate against the dollar and other currencies despite interventions by government. The free fall of the cedi has made it even more difficult to do business. So the question is, how can we save the cedi from further fall? To tell us more about this, we're joined on the line by Samuel Kofi Ampa, his senior research, he's head of research with the Gold Coast Gold Coast Fund Management. Thank you very much for joining us here, Mr. Ampa.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me do a quick correction. It's head of research, Group Indum.
Group Indum, very well. Now let's look at the cedi situation. At some point, we saw it stabilize just for a little bit, and then it went up again. What really is the problem with the cedi?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. You know that since the redenomination in 2007, the cedi has not known its peace. The cedi at 2008 was being exchanged for 0.96, or let's say 1 cedi to $1. Since 2008, the cedi has never, seen some level of appreciation. The cedi has kept on depreciating against the dollar, not only the dollar, but against other currencies as well. So it tells you that something is not right structurally, something is not right in this economy. You know, the basic structure of the economy is not right. Why am I saying this? We've always talked about inflows that will come in and help salvage the economy. But that has not happened. If you look at the recent IMF first tranche of money that came around April, what they did was to stabilize the economy, they stabilized the city for just about some few weeks, and then the city started depreciating again. If you look at what happened in 2014, at the latter part of 2014, I'm giving you current occurrences to know that we can't save our city if the structure of this economy is still the same. If you look at the cocoa syndicated loan that we had, if you look at the Eurobond that came in to, put the city at least at some level of stability to gain some, marginal appreciation in the latter part, in the last quarter of 2014. What happened? Right after that, we've seen the cedi depreciating again. And this time, it is depreciating at a higher pace. If you look at what is happening for the year, if you look at the level of depreciation the cedi has experienced, you could see that the cedi, just even mid-June, have depreciated about 30.76%. It started the year at 1.25% depreciation in January, depreciated by 8.58% in February, depreciated further deeply in March at 17.10%, went worse in April by 20.29%, in May depreciated by 24.9%.
And so, Ms. Ampa, what can we do?
It keeps on Look, it's simple. We've talked about, this is not the first time we've talked about what can we do on your platform. But nothing seems to be done. We have lost it. We've lost it because, one, we just talked about the fact that a lot of Ghanaian imported products are coming from China. So what do? We start trading in the Chinese RMB. We still have not been able to do that. So a lot more of our businesses are using the dollar to go and do importation. Secondly, we talked about the fact that a lot more of our businesses are not Ghanaian-owned businesses. So there is certainly going to be capital flight. So what can we do to improve on having much more hold on the economy by supporting the private sector to be able to stand on its own? But we still have businesses that use foreign currency. And if you give me the time to explain, because we've talked about this
unfortunately, time is what we do not have. And then again, but finally, these measures you talk about will only yield results in the long term. But
when is the long term? When is the long term? I started from 2008. 2008, when we did the redenomination in 2007 and had 1:1. What if we had put a structure in place? We wouldn't be talking about cedi depreciating to 4 cedis and we estimating the cedi to go up at 5 cedis by end of year. I mean, what is the long term?
Ms. Ampa, I'm afraid we'll have to leave the conversation here. We'll continue this at a later time. Samuel Kofi Ampa is head of research with Group Indum. We can move on to another issue of of national importance to all of us. Which has to do with the deregulation policy by the National Petroleum Authority. We understand that a meeting among stakeholders ended inconclusively. Daryl Kwao has been on the ground around this meeting and has joined me over the telephone with more. Hello, Daryl.
Good afternoon, Kenny.
Good afternoon to you. Exactly what is it about the meeting ending inconclusively?
Well, what it is that the BDCs have been meeting with the NPU over subsidies they claim are being passed on to them by government despite the implementation of the deregulation policy. Now, the understanding we got about this policy was that consumers would pay the actual prices of fuel, but the BDCs are claiming that that is not the case under this first phase of the implementation of the deregulation policy, that they are still bearing some costs which were supposed to have been weaned off by government. And so the issue being that government is trying to get them to sell the fuel not at the actual cost, but at some subsidized price. And that is where there is a disagreement. Of course, the BDCs do not want to bear the cost because of course, the implications it would have on them. So no agreement has been reached after the hour or so of meeting, but my sources are telling me that the BDCs may agree to take on the subsidies, but just for a period. Now, that is information. Still trying to work out, get some more information as we can. But as we speak, the BDCs are in their own meeting without the MPA to decide whether or not they would take up this subsidy or not.
Well, thank you very much, Daryl, for that report. Daryl Call joined us with details of a meeting amongst petroleum industry stakeholders. That's it for the segment. Next is sports with Benedict Usu. Now, President Mahama has cast the sword for the construction of some major roads in the eastern region. The Durbar was held at Adeso to signify the commencement of work. Kofi Sian joins me over the telephone with further details. Hello, Kofi. Hello, Kofi.
Hello.
Now, what more can you tell us about these projects?
Well, you know, the construction of the road from Suhum to Nsawam, then from Nsawam to Adeso, then from Adeso to Asamankese has been a major concern for most road users in the region. For instance, the Oshine and its elders took to road inspection in this area, and they actually expressed their dissatisfaction with the nature of the road. So the president, in response to some of these criticisms and the call for him to fix these roads, today came here to cut the sword for construction of major roads in the eastern region.
Very well, Kofi. Kofi, that's all time we'll allow. Thank you very much. Kofi Sian joined us from the eastern region and in our broadcast for Joy News today. Thank you very much for your company here. My name is Emmanuel Emmanuel. Enjoy the rest of our broadcast.